How do you perform DML or retrieve data from LWC? There are two ways, you using Apex or using Lightning Data Service. Retrieve data is you'll do with help of SQL and perform DML. We use DML statement or database methods, and both these operations can also be done without Apex, which means with help of Lightning Data Service. In short, we call them as Lightning LDS. It is similar to your standard controller. Standard controller in Visualforce architecture, Visualforce MEC architecture, similar to standard controller. So we don't need to write any Apex. So that's also possible in LWC. We'll get into this very much detail of later Apex topic. Okay. So using Apex. So obviously LDS, standard controller has its own limitation because we don't write business logic, right? We don't write business logic, and there are scenarios we cannot use filter conditions in your, because it is not your Apex. It is not your Apex, right? The LDS is not your Apex. But using Apex, you write your business logic the way you want, and but there are three different ways you can interact with the database through Apex. So Apex is a server-side controller, right? We have in LWC we have HTML and JS. And so from JS, we're going to call Apex. Apex is server-side controller. JS is your client-side controller. Server-side controller. And from Apex, you will interact with the database. It means your objects. It can be a standard or custom object. Right? So that's how the communication will establish. So from HTML, you will call JS method. From JS, you will call Apex. So what are the different ways you can call Apex from LWC? Now you can tell wiring with property and
wiring with function.
Wiring with function, right? Yeah, wiring with function, and then imperative call.
Imperative call.
Yes, imperative call. The first two are automated interaction, automated connection with your Apex, which means when the component is loaded, when LWC component is loaded, you get data in your property, which means your JS property, okay, JavaScript property. When the component is loaded, you will get data in your JS function, JS method. So, like in Visualforce Apex, we have a method in your constructor. What happens when anything in any logic you have inside the constructor, that will execute when visual page is loaded, right? So that's the method will get executed when the component is loaded. Similarly, the wiring architecture, will retrieve the data when the LWC component is loaded. Okay, the imperative call you will call on demand, on user action, which means what? On click of a button. Get my point? If you on click of a button, you call the JS method. From JS method, you call Apex. So that is imperative call. You call imperatively. When needed, you call imperatively. That is imperative call. Okay. So that's a quick overview. So we'll get into wiring with property. What are the steps involved? In LWC to call Apex with help of method wiring with the property. So what it means wiring with the property, your JS will have a will be wired with your Apex, the server. It means any changes in the database, any changes in the data, what happens? The data will be readily available to your JS, either to property or to the JS function. So wiring with the property. So there are steps involved so that you can establish this, this framework. You can establish this connection, JS to Apex, Apex to object. Okay. So how to do that? First thing, your Apex class. Your Apex class should be a static. I mean, the class should be a public class, of course. The method should be a public static method annotated with at aura enabled annotation. My point. This is the first criteria the Apex class should meet. And what else? The aura enabled should have a parameter cacheable equal to true in the case of wiring mechanism. You get my point? So this is only for your wiring mechanism. This property is required for wiring mechanism, not for imperative call. Only for wiring mechanism, either with the property or function, the Apex class should have the parameter. Okay, and the other in other case, imperative call, it's enough. The class can be a public or global. Get my point? And the method should be a static method annotated with or enable annotation. Example, let me give an example like this. Like this. So I have a controller called the contact controller, and the method is static, and it returns data from contact, isn't it? And it
Hi,
returns a
Ravi.
list of yes.
Yeah, you said that for wiring only we need catchable is equal to true, right? So
I
wiring in the sense two-way communication, correct? I mean, not two-way. Whenever the JS the property is getting changed, immediately the UA also will get changed. That is called wiring.
The data is readily available. Yeah, it is wired. If there are any changes in the database, you get the updated data to your JS. Yes.
Okay, if you are not putting this catchable is equal to true, then it will not immediately it will not get reflected. Correct.
It is a framework. It demands you don't put cacheable equal to true, it won't work.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned in the case of wiring, right? That's why I confused.
Yeah, because it's a syntax. They defined it. You need a cacheable equal to true. Yeah, they
Okay.
defined it. It's an architecture. Developers or product developer build this syntax. So it should be followed for wiring
Okay.
property of JS function. Yes, the assumption,
Okay.
the inner architecture is, of course, any data is changed once once the data is retrieved, the data will be available in the cache part of the memory. So the next time when you retrieve the same data, same set of data, you get the data faster than before because the data is now retrieved from cache part of the memory. But there is an interval. The cache will get updated regularly. So between some time period, minutes, seconds, the data is get updated whenever the server data is changed. That's all inner mechanism. But this syntax is necessary for these two methods. That's it. You get it?
Yes, Ranjit. Thank you.
So wiring with property. What will follow in your JS class? Suppose we know JS class will have an import statement and export. Okay. So suppose this JS, I'm going to call my Apex. From this JS, I'm going to call my Apex. Then what I have to do additionally, I have to import a schema. So you have to mandatorily specify this so that I can refer my class in this format. The class name dot static method name within single quotes you have to specify. Then name in what name you are going to import it. That you will follow the same naming convention. The best practice, we just follow the same naming convention. So this is the first the import statement. In addition to this, you have to specify. And so this is how you normally your JS looks like. Now you are adding additionally this import statement. And now we are going to wire this schema, right? Wire this schema, which means related to Apex class with your property, JS property. Suppose my JS property name is contacts. Are you going to wire this? You're going to prefix that or decorate that with a decorator at wire. When you use a decorator, you additionally have to include an element wire. Else it will show the syntax error in your JS. Okay. And how will you wire? In addition to at wire prefix, as a parameter, you have to specify the same the name that you imported. That's it. So now the property is wired with your Apex class. Get my point? That's it. That's a syntax set in your JS. Now the data is when the component is loaded. What happens? The Apex class will be invoked, and data is retrieved, and the data will be available to this property. So I think yesterday we created that class, right? So wiring. Okay. Yeah. You get it. So the same, whatever we covered in the notepad, the same thing. Okay. Now we can deploy this. No changes, right? We can deploy this, and yeah. So let me add the cons is a property name, right? And yesterday I mentioned it. The property that you are retrieved, that's used to retrieve the data, will have two objects inbuilt. One is data, and another is error. So on successful completion of the server action, the data object will have value. Since you'll have a contact records. Okay. And if any issues, on exception, any error of server action is not completed due to some reason, then the error object will have a data, will have the information, the error related information. So you have to refer this data in your for each. Understand? Then for item like this. You're already familiar with this, right? C dot ID and C dot say last name. So this is my class. We already deployed this class. And let me deploy this. Okay. So let me show this demo in a application page. Okay. Let us create one Lightning application app, and we'll add some Lightning app page for these use cases. Okay. You also I request you also do the follow the same thing. Okay. I create the app page. I name that app page as call apex examples. I'll go with this template. Yeah. And wiring apex. What is the method name? Apex wiring. Yeah. You get the data, right? The preview showing it. No, it's we got the data. So the app page is created. We can add this app page to any of the Lightning application. I'll create one Lightning app, new Lightning app. Generally named it as LWC examples. Okay, now I think I can locate my Apex example here, right? Call Apex example. This is what I created, no, just now. And I'm assigning this to myself, my profile. You know these things, right, guys? App builder thing. I created an application. Now the application will available in my app launcher, isn't it? You get it? So this is what I did. I'm able to get the last name, right, in this format. Okay, so any question here? Any question? Able to follow this?
Yeah, Ranjit, one question here. Can you go to the page now? Yeah, here, right? The records are so many records are there. So can we add the pagination concept also here in the Lightning also? Like we want to display some 10 contacts.
It's possible. It takes time. It's possible.
Because no, maybe it will take time, but just I'm asking if it's possible or not. So because like look and feel wise, business wanted to some more cool look and feel, right? So just I'm asking if it's possible or not.
No, Rajesh. Look and feel. Anyhow, you can add it. It's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely possible. It's not the core objective now. Otherwise, it's doable. Okay, it's not a. It is just a UI thing, right? It's possible.
Yes, yes.
We have a Lightning data table. we can show it in the form of table. So use lightning data table. For data part, you are going to associate your data. It is possible. So you can get into lightning data table. It is possible, and pagination is also possible.
Okay.
So let's get into the basics. Okay, let's be familiar with the call apex. The UI thing, I would give some more additional use cases as part of one mini project at the end. We'll have certain sort of it may include pagination, it may include different sort of use cases. So as a mini project work, I will walk through and from the top to end, I'll walk through and complete that. Not now. Now we need to understand the basic syntax of call apex. Then we'll get into that stage later at the end of the course.
Thank you.
Sure. So okay, so call apex with the property, wiring with the property, where the apex class does not accept any parameter. So how about the apex method accepting parameter? Example, this method, if you see, it retrieves the data for the last name, matching last name. Any name start with the name that you, the string that you retrieved in the form of parameter. Okay, so how will you pass this parameter from LWC? You'll see here. Okay, let me create. I think I haven't created. Let me create a LWC. Yeah. Method name. Get contact for email. Again, going to be wired with property. And we know we have to include the parameter. It. And now we need to pass parameter, right? So we don't need this braces. Yeah. Okay. Now, how to pass parameter? The parameter can be passed by simply adding one more parameter here within braces, like a JSON format. You'll specify the apex parameter name at the left side, and what you like to pass on the right side. Okay. Okay, so before I execute this, check this. Let us check the data for last name, any last name in the developer console, so that we can expect the same result in our demo, right? So pre-editor, like,
I think you need to place percentage symbol here.
Yeah, lost it, forgot it. Mhm. Okay, we got two names matching for this result, RA. Okay, let me hard code that value. Okay, and the UI part also, I do the same thing. Instead of cons, I had to put contacts, right? As my case having the property name as contacts, I also follow contacts dot data and displaying the last name, and here I pass the parameter. Apex all wiring property with parameter. Mhm. I think this different one, right? It's deployed, okay.
Metadata file have you updated? Okay.
Metadata?
Have you exposed? It is exposed, right? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Post. This is different one. Yeah. There's no clue. Here's some error. We have to struggle. Right. Deploying from HTML will work. Deploying from HTML will work. No need to deploy from metadata. Apex, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not locating right. Okay, it's working. It's okay. So this one, right? And but I got only one record, right? I got only one. RA is being passed, RA will be suffixed with the percentage, and then like my name percentage. Is this right? Last name. Okay. I think I given name there, isn't it? Name. Yeah. If you use name here, of course it works. It's working. Okay. Working. Now we'll get two records actually. We'll get two records. Isn't it? It works. So now, how to get input from user and refer that input dynamically. Okay, so yeah, over here in this example, on change, going to call a JS method. Right? You'll see on entering any value, you should be able to get data in this console, because on change the method should be called in dynamically. So once a method is called, you may need to assign this to a parameter. For example, I declare a property src_txt. To this property, we have to assign this value, and that property you have to specify here. You get my point? That we are going to connect now. The first thing, we are going to check whether the data is retrieved. On change, you are able to get the data in your JS. Once you are able to get this data, you are going to assign this data dynamically to this property. How to make it dynamic? I'll explain. How to make it dynamic, I'll explain in a while. Okay. So let me first deploy this. You are able to follow what I'm doing. Now you should get a input text box here, right? Yeah, you got input text box. The value entered must be yeah, you get the data, right? Because it's on change event. So what should do now? The data that you entered, you are able to get in JS. Now you need to assign this value to this property. What will you do? You normally do like this, isn't it? src txt equal to like this. Anything I'm missing here? I need to fix something in level 12.
This dot.
Yeah, this keyword is mandatory. Okay, to refer the JS property, right? So what happens in this case? You know what happens, right? Here, every character entered, the JS method is being invoked because of onChange event. Okay, and how to refer this dynamically? The search text. Okay, the search text we can refer. Normally, what you'll do, you refer like this within. Yeah, normally you may refer like, yeah, this dot search text. What will happen if you refer this dot search text? This will always resolve with a static value. But whenever user entered, you get the new value here, isn't it? First time it's null, right? So the apex will always retrieve null. But how to pass this dynamically? Because whenever the user enter any value, that needs to be dynamically passed. It means this property should be reactive, isn't it? To make it reactive, if you have to follow this in modern JavaScript within single quotes, you need to prefix your string property. You need to prefix your property with $. So what happens now? This became a dynamic property. Any changes to this such text will automatically you automatically get data into this property. It's always been referred. Okay, that is one part. That is one. Another one here is another issue here is the onChange event will call the JS method for every character we entered. Then what happens? For every character we entered, the apex call will happen frequently, isn't it? The apex method will always be invoked. If you enter 10 characters, the 10 apex call will be invoked. So that will add up too many transactions against the server, isn't it? So what we are going to do, there is a method, there is a way you can delay your server call. For example, say 3 seconds. You can, second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, you can, a time interval, you can delay your server call. Not like for every character you entered, it's not mandatory to call the server call, which will add up a lot of transaction load, against your server. That obviously will impact your performance of your application. So the JavaScript has a standard framework, a method to delay the server call. Delay something, some logic. It's not just server call. Delay something. For example, this assignment, right? Assign this value after some time interval. So how to do that? Listen here. There is a standard method given by a modern JavaScript. Set timeout. Okay, set timeout, and there is a method called set timeout. So this set timeout method has an inbuilt callback function. Arrow format, right? I already given this in the beginning, isn't it? It's given or not? Arrow function. I haven't given.
No, Ranjit, you haven't.
If not given, shall I explain it later? Not now. I'll explain it later.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll give a very brief idea about. Say, for example, I written something here within just a bracket, open close bracket, and arrow like equal and closed angle bracket, and where you will write your business logic within braces, right? So this dot such text equal to given dot target dot value. So, say for example, I assign this to some local property. Um, Name key something like this. Okay, I'm sorry, like this, and there will be a an additional parameter you will specify in this method, comma, say 300. I believe it's a millisecond. It means I think equivalent to 3 seconds. You get my point? 300, just a hard-coded value. If to avoid hard-coded, you can also specify declare a constant here above the export statement. This, and we specify this one here, like this. So I'll rewrite this. Okay, I'll rewrite this. Hold on. Yeah. So this is exactly what you are doing here in arrow function. Is exactly this is old JavaScript method of writing the function. You have a function keyword, open close bracket. You know the function may or may not accept parameter, right? So now this function does not have a parameter. Open close bracket. You have logic. So how to write this in very short form? There is no parameter, so you just specify open and close bracket, then arrow, then you specify this. This is also okay. The brace is not very mandatory. Okay, the brace is not mandatory. So you specify braces, will also fine. Get my point? This is short form of, suppose if you have a parameter in the function, a, then you just have to do like this. Okay, this short form of writing a JavaScript function in the form of, it's called arrow function. Arrow format of writing the function. That's what they are doing here. Okay, so this method has a two parameter. One is the time delay, function, callback function. The next is how much seconds you like to delay. So what happens now? This particular property will get value after certain delay, time delay, not immediately. You get my point? Is it clear to all of you? Let's go with this now for now. Okay. Yeah. And there is one more thing we need to fix here. Um, the value, right? Yeah. The value needs to be needs to refer this such text. Get it? What I'm doing now? The search text needs to be referred there. Why this is not accepting? It's working, right? In that capital. Okay. Is this clear? Shall we proceed now? We'll check. Maybe I'll decorate this with mm, lightning card. Okay. Right. Last time we are declaring maybe the isn't it? Can you try in your end? Can you try in your end and see how it works?
Here we put 3 seconds, right, Ranjit? Time delay.
Exactly.
Here it is immediately coming.
The time delay maybe you have to increase it. Not immediately. Time delay is because of time delay. We reduce the interval, the call interval. Absolutely, it works, but we may increase or decrease depends upon your requirement. It will work because uh, we know such text is always referred here. It's this line is being commented. It works actually. Right? You give a try, it will work. So now you guys tell me, will you able to spend another sometime now? I'll cover the function part now. We'll get into another example.
Okay, Ranjit.
Okay. Right. So call apex wiring with property with or without parameter. I hope you are good now, isn't it? So I'll just you have to add the import statement and decorate your property with wire. With parameter, you have to pass JSON format, and dynamically you have to refer with single quotes, prefix your property with a dollar. That's it. So wiring with the function. Wiring an apex method to a function. So the class remains same. There is no change. The same criteria is applicable. Coming down to your JS, okay? Coming down to your JS. The property now going to be a function. I'll explain here. The same class, JS class. So instead of property, what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this as a function. How the function is going to be, what is the format you're going to follow for your function? This is a function, right? Open close bracket is required for your function, isn't it? Okay, and remove the semicolon, open and close bracket. This is how the function, right? Now the data will be available to this function. Earlier it was a property. The data is available to the property. The server data is available to the property. Now the data is available to the function. So now you change this in the form of function. You declare a function instead of property now. That's it. Everything else remains same. You also decorate your function with hotwire. You also pass parameter, the import class that you imported, the same name you refer here. It's all remains same. Instead of property, you make this property in the form of function. That's it. Because you're going to retrieve the data here now. The data is going to be retrieved here. Okay. And this function is going to get the data, right? We have two objects, remember? On successful, we have data objects. On exception, we have a error object, right? Where did I written this? Somewhere I written this, no? Yeah, here. Okay. So those two parameters, now we are going to refer in the form of parameter here, JSON parameter. Okay, so first parameter is going to be error. Second parameter is going to be data. You get my point? The method that you declare will have two parameters. The first one is going to be error. Second one is going to be data. This can be any name. This can be any name. The two parameter should be there. The first parameter is going to retrieve the information on failure, on exception. The second parameter is going to retrieve the data. So where you will get the data now? So you have the data in this data, right? Suppose I have a property called cons. Suppose I need to assign data with cons on successful completion of the server call. Where should I? What I have to do now? This cons equal to data. Is that clear to all of you? Is that clear? So that I can refer these cons and iterate and render my data in my UI, isn't it? This is clear, right? So when you will assign the data, only if data contains any information, right? Then what you will do normally? I can pick like if data contains, then I'll do like this. Right? Makes sense to all of you? Else if any error, what will do? You can either you can right now you can put a console log. Any error, then display in the console log. Like this. Makes sense to all of you? Able to follow this? What changes I made?
Sense maybe some error during the server side, right? When the query is trying to run.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
JavaScript error will not be able to catch. The JS error will not be able to catch, right? That can be done in console log.
Yeah. Syntax error you will never catch. You never catch in the while execution, while deploying the code. You have to find in the console log only. So this is something any server action, any failure in the server action, DML failure, anything, it will retrieve some information in the error. So that time this is going to be null, undefined. This is going to be undefined. JavaScript, any no data, undefined. If any data you can also have a check directly like this. If error, if data, then do something. If error, then do something. Okay. So all you have to do is make in the form of method and have some JSON parameter. The first parameter will have information on exception. The second parameter will have data on successful completion of server call. So that's it. This is how you replace wiring with your function. Right? Give me a fix. Give me a fix. Why it is showing up in red line?
Import statement wire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. So now now the cons is having the data. Okay, the correction here I'm making is data is not required, isn't it? Like no. It's some icon belongs to utility custom. Okay, a custom 63 with some icon named as custom 63 belongs to utility custom. Okay, category custom. So yeah, we can try this. Yes. Unable to find Apex action with reference contact controller EX. Right? My name is, I think, typo. It should work, man. Yeah, it works. So now do from HTML. Okay, most of the time it works from HTML only. Deploy from HTML. X X firing function, correct? It works, no? So we'll give a try. We'll give a try. It works. Okay. So you want all this example copied? Dynamic function, right?
One question: when to use a wiring with function and when to use a wiring with property?
You have something to perform when the data is retrieved. The first thing, when you go for wiring, you need data when the component is loaded, not on demand. Imperative call is something you call the function, you call the function on user action. There is no user action here, right? I load the component, you get the data, isn't it? So that's the situation. You go for wiring. It's a property or function, right? When you go for wiring function, wiring property doesn't perform anything. Just you have the data, you do something, you just render it. In the case of wiring with function, you perform something, right? This is very simple logic. You just assign the data, but I retrieve the data, I iterate it and check something. I do some process, some logic here before I render the data. I call something else, some other method from here. On component is loaded. Then you go for wiring with a function. You get it? Is that clear? Want me to repeat?
Can you repeat the last statement, please?
When you go for wiring, you need data on component is loaded. You need data when component is loaded, not on action, not on user action. I get the data, right? When the component is loaded, I get the data. How it happens? Because of wiring nature. I get the data, right? I need something to display, render it on click of a tab, on click of a, and on the component is loaded. So I go for wiring. When you go for wiring property, just rendering the data, there is no logic to be performed. But here, I have something to perform. Before the data is rendered, before the data is copied, I like to perform some logic. Some logic. I need to call some other method, some other call I like to make. I cannot do this in your property, right? You cannot do this. Simply you get the data and render it. But I do perform something, then you go for wiring function. When you go for imperative call, that's different. I will cover tomorrow. If time I can cover now, but we'll cover tomorrow. So you call the function. Shall I complete this now? If you want, I complete this function imperative call also. The call apex you can complete. It's
I think Ranjit, I have a call at 11:30.
okay. You guys carry on then. I'll upload the notes. You carry on. Tomorrow we'll connect. I'll upload the exercise for you later today, you try to complete that exercise. Okay, I upload these notes now. No worries. Yeah. Okay then, Karen. We'll see tomorrow. Bye.